if we see somebody general population, and when I say general population, I don't mean like somebody who's never worked out, but even somebody who's just like, they want to go from, beginner intermediate to intermediate advanced, let's say. You and I think we look at that and we know we can get them there. It's largely about compliance and habit formation and stuff like that. There's no question of how to do it. We just need them to stick to it.
Exactly.
And so how do you go about that? Because habits obviously are hugely ingrained in us. And I was fortunate enough to get started very young, but I do sympathize with the people who come to me and they're 20 to 30 years old and they have decades of bad habits. So how do you go about that?
Yeah, I address a bit of that in the most recent book that I published, which was kind of just done on a whim. It was done for fun. I didn't really know how it was going to be received, but it's doing well, which is cool. It's called The Little Black Book of Workout Motivation. And it's really, because I get asked a lot like questions like that. And also, just people asking kind of like, what are what are the biggest lessons that I've learned in being successful in the gym to the degree that I have been, and then also in my business or businesses and in my personal life. And so I thought it might be interesting to kind of write, instead of doing a more, or instead of looking at something like habits, for example, like you have the Power of Habit from Duhigg, where you take a look at the literature and you take a look at what the key points are that you could communicate, and you make some stories around it, and you did a good job. I thought it'd be more like, well, I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to be looking at it through the lens of what I feel like has made the biggest difference for me personally, and it may or may not for you. Like this stuff may or may not resonate with you. But for habit building in particular, I really don't think the topic is all that complicated. I mean, there are, especially with health and fitness, because if you can just get somebody moving in the right direction and get them to start seeing results and get them to understand that they're going to fall off the wagon here and there, and that's totally fine. It doesn't matter, and go over some basic things of not coming down hard on themselves, not overreacting because they like ate 500 more calories than they were supposed to one day.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? It actually just doesn't even matter. And get them to kind of reframe depending on where they're at. I mean, some people, it all just kind of falls into place naturally, because when they do start seeing results and there are thinking with the long term. So, I have a workout journal that goes with both of my books for men and women, just because people are always asking for it, where it's just a year's worth of workouts planned out for them. Already pre-filled in there. Okay. And I chose a year though, and I also give those workouts for free as just bonus content with the books. But some people like to have something hard and they don't necessarily want to like print it and take it to wherever and get it spiral bound or whatever. So by first even looking at, I think, a longer time horizon, that's beneficial, saying, okay, I'm in this for a year. I'm not in this for just a week. So then, because then if you slip up one day, or even if you have a bad week, it's really not that big of a deal, because in the context of things, we're talking about 1/365th of the year that you're looking forward to, and understanding that you don't have to be perfect in anything, but especially in health and fitness, you just have to be good enough most of the time. Yep. And that's especially true for just everyday normal people, even myself included at this point, who want to get and stay fit. You don't need to be, you can go on YouTube and you can find all kinds of things. And especially if you're getting into people who are competitors or just neurotically into this stuff, where you get a false, it's like a false standard. You think that's if you're not doing that, you're failing. It's black or white. And so anyways, there are a number of concepts, again, I kind of discuss in that little black book of workout motivation. Those are conversations that I've just had with people over the years, and things that have ideas that have resonated with me and just helped me kind of stay on track. But I haven't done that much reading on the subject of habit building, because for me personally, that's never been an issue. So any of the reading that I have done actually was more like research for articles that I've written, or even this book where I shared, it was, here are things that work for me, and I found like, oh, okay, well there actually is some that you could say that was a science-based thing, even though I just kind of came up with it myself. I wasn't aware that there is actually some research on that, what I was doing or whatever. But then also sharing my own personal stories. And so for me, I would say habits have never been a problem, but that's probably because I have just created good habits for, I've had quite a few good habits for some time. And there is that point where, let's say, I work out, I lift weights 5 days a week, and not doing that would be harder at this point than doing it, but I can understand to some degree the one thing that I can look at and go, what's a habit that was actually hard to break, was looking at porn, for example. Mm-hmm. So I wish I would have never looked at porn. I was fucking 12,
right?
And I was, growing up on the internet, and it's impossible to not. Sure. It seems like, especially when, being that age. And as I got older, though, I started to just be like, there's something about this I don't like. And now there's a whole bunch of research on just how bad it is for you. And how much it can screw up your relationships and your expectations. And even actually, I saw newer research that it screws with your brain chemistry. Mm-hmm. And so I would say I never got to a point where I was addicted to it, but to really finally just never look at it again. I don't know. It took time, and it took where I would not look at it for 2 months and then look at it. And it's been a while now. So at this point, again, I've long reached that point where like not looking at it is easier than looking at it. I have no interest in looking at it anymore. But so I can understand, and a lot of that was, again, just kind of not getting too hard on myself. And I've always been honest with my girlfriend, and she's now my wife, but I wouldn't hide it from her if she were to ask, you know what I mean? I would always tell her, but, or maybe there's a point when I was really young where I was kind of embarrassed that I wouldn't tell her, but I got to a point where I was willing to tell her. And, but it was being patient. And I guess for me, what helped with that is I don't want to go off on a random tangent, but I really disagree with it I think the effects that it's having in society are really bad. So even from that perspective alone, it's like, I don't want to support that. And even by going to those websites and participating in it, I am personally supporting it to some degree. Mm-hmm. And so that mattered to me. Like, that was something that made sense to me, because at the time there wasn't, that I can remember, any real research available in terms of how is this affecting me, you know what I mean? But anyways, random personal story of, that's one thing that I can relate to. Whereas I've never really had any problems with food, for example. Cutting has always been an easy thing. You just restrict your calories. I'm not a binge kind of person. So anyways, I share some of my experiences and share what has worked for me, and then also some other stuff that is anecdotal from just successful people, and also stuff pulled from research in that book.
Gotcha. Yeah, actually, I think the porn example is a good one, because people tend to have willpower in different areas oftentimes, and so you've got this great willpower with nutrition and exercise, but then when it came to this other thing, it was harder. And it took, a lot of times to develop a habit, you need to either write it down or consciously have a reason why it's important to you. If you just say, I'm going to do this, well, why? And for you had a legitimate reason there. I don't want to support this. I think it's causing problems. And so that reason probably.
And my girlfriend didn't, she wouldn't get super upset about it, but she didn't like that I was doing that. She's not in. I don't think she's ever even seen porn in her life. And so for her, and I understand, it was like kind of upsetting to her that I'm looking at these other girls, and what is that? You know what I mean? Sure. And so I understood that as well. But no, I totally agree. there, especially something like that, where there's, that's truly, they have moments of true temptation. So I can understand that.